Hello, everyone. All right. Is it better to have the last slot before lunch, or the first slot after lunch, or the slot during when lunch is supposed to be? There, I'll get you back to life. So anyway, I think it's better to have you a little bit angry and hungry than tired and sleepy. Thanks for having me. My name is Peter Burchill. I work for the Nova Scotia Landowners and Forest Fibre Producers Association. I've been with them since 2009. In 2012, we started the Cape Breton Privateland Partnership as a service group for Cape Breton, as a pilot for the province, and the service group Forest Management Association type of local group, a regional group for landowners and landowner needs and contractors and silviculture contractors and everything that goes with it, a one-stop shop, so to speak. When I started in 2009, I was hired to fulfill the certification program for the organization. There was no service groups at that time, and I was instructed to run with it and take the applications and help people get management plans and follow up, and basically kind of like light consulting to help landowner needs. And so my perspective coming in, the first few people I met was they were a little bit surprised and excited that there was a forest professional available for them, an independent forest professional they could ask advice from and get management planning from. And it was kind of like having a forest professional on staff for the Woodlot group, which hadn't been there in that way before. And so that was exciting, and you're running around Cape Breton and doing management plans and identifying work. And then you get to a point where you can only do so many in a year. And we're still in the 2010, 11, 12 range before we started the service group, but then the need and the administrative burden of, tens of thousands of landowners starts to dawn on you what the real sector of it is. And so we've spent the rest of the time till now trying to bridge those gaps and solve those administrative issues so that we can quickly and efficiently get people what they need when they need it. We're membership-based groups, so Forest Fibre is still kind of that parent of the other one, but we operate as a service group in the Eastern Mainland, and Cape Breton is its own dedicated service group for the island, if anybody's not familiar. So that's just a real quick history. Forest Fibre goes back 50 years in many different iterations. Most notably, I guess, as a collective bargaining agent with the mill at the time in Port Hawkesbury to try and raise the floor price on pulpwood. And as markets and things changed over time, they got into forest certification in 2006. So we've maintained a Forest Stewardship Council certification for landowners. Since then, it's voluntary, it's optional, but we use it as a collective mechanism. So to try and create something where we follow an independent standard for our forest management advice and our program. And it's a globally recognized one, of course, and also to make work available for contractors and to make the whole thing come up in a big way. So it went from one woodlot at a time, one person's needs, to trying to figure out how to do it to scale, and we continue to do that. What we've learned over the years is that there is kind of tipping points in a steady state flow where you can't be everything to everybody all the time, and it doesn't make sense to try to be. So we try to, besides walk-in clientele and requests, we try to do it through what is the harvesting capacity in the region, what is the silviculture capacity in the region, what can we fund, what can we arrange, what can we facilitate, and that's kind of our ideal workflow in a given year. So between Forest Fibre and the partnership, last year we allocated about $500,000 in silviculture in the eastern part of the province, which is probably our main value for a lot of our members, besides the core management planning to get an understanding of your woodlot and get everything organized and a step forward. Silviculture dollars goes a long way. So that's what we lead with our management planning and our advice and our consulting, and then we follow up with our silviculture and our silviculture program and our harvesting facilitation. We don't buy and sell wood, we just try and grease the wheels, so to speak. As a show of hands, how many people are coming here from the Cape Breton side of the causeway? And then how many from the mainland side? So it's pretty even split here, which is kind of what our groups are looking at. I must say forestry is very different when you cross the causeway. For anybody that doesn't already know that, we can get a lot more done on the mainland all the way up to the causeway pretty well more easily than we have ever been able to do in Cape Breton. It's just a different game, but we still try and accomplish the same things for people. So historically speaking, that's where we are and what we've come to. So I'll just to finish that intro, anybody that's coming to this conference with new woodlands or new silviculture needs or new harvesting needs this year, and you have day-to-day stuff, that's what we do. We are kind of like day-to-day, take the phones and the emails, new applicants, silviculture applications, harvesting requests, and we sort through that as it comes in. Outside of that, we do project work with other organizations. We work with UINR. We've had Nova Scotia Community College projects over the last number of years, federal grants. We're the province Department of Natural Resources has been a primary partner for funding and activities right from the start since I've been here. So it takes a lot to make it go, and in the end, we're kind of the face and the day-to-day one-stop shop for landowners as they need it. On the mainland, through these projects in recent years, especially a federal fund through Environment Climate Change Canada, we lead with our certification program. When we get these funds, it's a good way to get things going. We expanded our certificate to make it accessible in PEI New Brunswick. That was kind of the project, and we did some test stuff there, and it hasn't really taken off in New Brunswick, but in PEI they're in a grassroots mode, so it's kind of exciting to help them. I went and spoke at their AGM, the Woodlot group in Eastern PEI, a month and a bit ago, and it was like looking in a 20-year mirror. Like they're at the point where we were 25 years ago, where they're just trying to get off the ground with one full-time executive director and a part-time consultant. So it was kind of neat to see that start there, and then a great need. I mean, I won't go on about PEI too much, but like to me, that's a nice canary in a coal mine situation. They've been, the farming is obvious, but the hurricane hit them in a visceral way, and that's where a lot of these initiatives are coming from, and the reality kind of smacked them in the face, and they're like, well, we better take care of these forests. So there's a lot of neat initiatives going on there, and they're starting right, not from scratch, but from scratch in a funded way, in a meaningful way with programming and staff. So we've been helping out with that a bit. But that project, even though we extended our programming a little bit, has allowed us to beef up our capacity and our systems and how we do things. So we're constantly improving in that sense. And one of the big things was being able to staff up a little bit. So we have a full-time CBPP was set up as a manager and a clerk basically, and then we did extension work part-time through more or less dozens of people in the early days. And that gets tricky when those dozens of people transition in and out of those those jobs. You're constantly training and constantly supervising, and so it was a big shift this past year. Last July we brought Megan McGinnis in as our field manager, and she's a pro and she's awesome, and so now we have a dedicated full-time field tech available to do these things. We try and keep the administrative burdens off of her, although that never stays away. But the point is that we got somebody full-time for the first time to be solely there as a field tech and to go out and hit sites. And the stuff we've done in the background has allowed us to have less administrative burden on her. So lots of good stuff. And then on the mainland, Tyler Brown I hired 2 years previous to that as a recent grad out of Ontario, through this federal fund, kind of replacing my time, so to speak. So he's a full-time field tech for the Eastern Mainland. So that's a big, when I started in 2009, it was like someone was surprised to see a forest professional that's independent of a mill or the government show up and help them. And now we've sort of built it up so that it's business as usual to have those positions in each of our region. And then complementing that, David Sweet on the mainland, who filled that role for years as the field person, continues to be on as a landowner liaison and help us with projects and meetings and stuff. So we have, aside from the direct staff, we continue to have those extension roles, many people, but Erica helps us a little bit. We have a partnership with UINR. We've sort of traded job titles with her for quite a few years now. We're really happy to have her and working for them, and they, there's kind of a partnership where she helps us out a little bit when we need, but Kirsten Campbell's a former manager of CBPP, and she's helping us out a little bit here and there. She works for CFI. So the real answer we found is like it is, it's not a silver bullet, it's silver buckshot. We've got lots of, like a tiny army of people available, and we're kind of at our steady state where we're not looking to grow and solve all the world's problems, but we can manage the needs of the season or the year or the day. So that's what we're here for primarily, and we do a lot of other stuff besides that, but for direct services and needs, if you have those needs, you're a new owner, or you have silviculture, you have properties you want to get more organized, just come up to me. We don't have a booth and I don't have a card, but come up to me after, or Megan, and we can sort you out. Aside from that, we're constantly doing projects where we're trying to make the environment, the climate for landowners and private land management at that small scale better and more amenable for landowners to continue to meet their needs in a changing, constantly changing landscape for sure on how to get things done. I want to just open it up for I want to keep this a bit fluid. I am winging it a little bit. I've given this presentation quite a few times this year, and I don't want to bore anybody. Is there any questions that are burning? Because I'm kind of here as the private land services person for the region. Is there any questions that people have generally or specifically right now? If not, I'll keep going, but okay, we're good. So come and find me afterwards. I'm not, I could go on all day. I really don't want to drag this out too much past lunch for you, and I think lunch is ready soon, but all right, so having said that, yes, Dale.
One of the things that we've been hearing from, you guys are administering a significant silviculture fund. One of the things we've been hearing consistently is that silvicultural categories and treatments have been under review for quite a while. Mm-hmm. I'm making the assumption that you're closer to seeing some insight into that than the rest of us are. How are you seeing that process evolving, what's coming out of the province? And are you seeing any awareness that silviculture contractors need to make more money? Because it seems like fundamentally we're losing our clearing saw operators and our PCP contractors, because rates really just haven't kept up with inflation for 30 years now. Are you seeing anything moving in a positive direction in that regard?
I'm glad you ended that with a positive direction to keep the right. So that's a great question. That's exactly why I wanted to open up the floor, because we could go a lot of different directions here. And that's a tough one, but it's a reality. And I will quite frankly say it's a abrupt reality in Cape Breton right now, and it has been for years. It's really difficult to get private land silviculture done, especially if you have something less than a pretty big area to do. The workforce has changed, the rates haven't kept up. And I think, there's a tiny bit of a apples and oranges thing with crown land silviculture and private land silviculture, and it's more expensive for contractors to get the work done on private. They don't have the oversight of the mill, the admin, and so we work as best we can with them, but we're in a bad spot right now on Cape Breton trying to get in regions, in areas, like there seems to be some areas where silviculture contractors follow around the harvesting contractors and they have that relationship and they hand down jobs, but it's really tricky now. Like our silviculture allocation in Cape Breton, we haven't fulfilled in years. It's just hard. On the mainland, it's different. There seems to be some really established contractors like Scott and Stewart and North Nova that we deal with primarily, and they've built up the scale and the capacity to sort of weather stuff a little bit. But you're right, it's tough and it's getting tougher, and the rates have adjusted a little bit here and there, but not enough, and not if you do that 30-year analysis on it. So it's tough. We're constantly trying to figure out how to solve it without overextending ourselves, which is what happens a lot. You put a lot of effort into trying to get jobs done, and it turns into a lot of heartache and not fighting, but contradicting views on what should be paid for stuff, and so it's tricky. But we lost your I think we might have lost your power. If that's all right. For me, I mean. Yeah. So what do we know about it? It's been a few years. We've been hearing there's changes coming, and every spring it's the same, and they haven't come yet. Like as far as new categories, new rates, other than like the up planting and the up natural PCT on individual cases, once each in the last 3 years, I guess. Yeah, I don't see it going on a positive uptick. I think we're still in that challenging mode, and hopefully the changes that are coming. We were expecting them this spring, but they may come this summer. We just don't know. So there's nothing really new there. The one thing I'd say about me being close to it is I do ask pretty much weekly everybody I see if they've heard anything, and the answer is no. So nothing quite yet, but I think it's in motion. It's just, it's been a challenging couple of years, when everybody gets pulled away to fires in response to hurricanes, and it's not like they have an army there. I think it's just 2 or 3 people working on that file. So yeah, that's the long answer, but same result right now.